Serious. Have you ever experienced a glitch in the Matrix situation? What happened? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I live in New York City. The L train runs from Brooklyn to Manhattan under the East River. In Manhattan, the stops are First Ave, 3rd, then Union Square, which is a major transfer point. During morning rush hour in 2012, I was in a packed L train, which emerged from the East River at First Avenue, opened its door as per usual, closed them, then proceeded along the track as per usual. About 30 seconds later, the train stopped, and the announcer, First Ave, 3rd Ave next, stand clear. I looked around a bit stunned, but the bleary-eyed passengers were mostly staring into their phones. I imagined I must have just gotten confused. The doors closed again. The train took off down the track, slowed down, stopped, and opened its doors. The announcer, First Ave, 3rd next, stand clear. This time I poked my head out quickly and saw it definitely was First Ave. I spoke up, shyly to no one in particular. Hey, did anyone notice we stopped at First Ave 3 times? But just 1 or 2 people kind of looked up quizzically and then evaded eye contact. The door then closed. The train took off, slowed down after 30 or so seconds and opened. 3rd Ave, Union Square next, stand clear. The train then continued west down the track, normal as could be. For years, I've thought about this event. I was there, cognizant and clear-eyed as ever, clutching a coffee, but I've never found any explanation. For one day, everyone I was talking to was having the same conversation with me. Topic was on disability studies, and none of them knew each other. For example, in the morning I was having that discussion with my professor. Then later that day, a friend brought it up who doesn't attend the same class as I do, and later that evening, another friend mentioned how she wanted to do their master's in disability studies. Weirdest situation ever. Yes, I worked at an airport and was the lead of the ramp team, ground handlers. I was waiting for a Delta RON flight to arrive. It was nighttime and we were in position so that I could marshal the plane into the gate. When the plane arrived, it would have to go down beside far end of the terminal out of view and turn around, come up the taxiway, turn left, taxi to the assigned gate, and turn into park. All is quiet, and plane is less than 10 minutes out. We look over, and as clearly as we can be seen, we see the tail of a Delta plane going behind the building with its logo lit up and everything. We waited and waited. Nothing came around. A few moments later, the plane lands. There was no other Delta plane scheduled to arrive, and they only used one gate at my airport. There was absolutely no way to have seen what we did at that moment. I'm 47 years old, my brother is 45 years old, and once when I was about 5 years old, he and I were jumping off of my bed's headboard. It had a whole bookshelf built into it, so it was pretty beefy and sturdy, and trying to flap our arms to fly. Of course we jump, flap our arms, and land right in the middle of the bed. Finally, my brother said, "I'm going to fly. I'm going to do it this time." He then jumps off the headboard and flaps his arm as fast as he can. He starts to come down, and then starts flapping his arms faster. Then something happened that neither of us expected. He flew up. When we were jumping off the headboard, the ceiling was still a few feet above our heads, but then he started flying up, right up until he hit his head on the ceiling and then fell to the foot of my twin bed, then rolled forward and fell to the floor. We then looked at each other and realized that he had flown, and that it was possible. We got all excited and started trying to do it again. We ended up breaking my bed and got in trouble. We tried to tell my mom and dad what happened, but they always made up some excuse as to what happened, and that we must have made it up. We were never able to replicate the results again, but we both remember what happened. We even spoke about it 2 days ago when I went to his house for dinner, but even he thinks that we might be remembering it wrong. The thing is though, he flew up higher than we could have jumped. He hit his head on the ceiling, and he landed further down the length of the bed than we had previously done, and I remember clearly seeing him start to come down and then change direction and go up higher and hit his head. I honestly have absolutely no idea how it could have happened, and logically speaking it makes no sense, but that is exactly how it happened, and I cannot reasonably explain it, but it happened. I was at a Girl Guides camping trip, and we slept in tents with about 5 of us in them when I was younger. We all went to sleep with our heads on one end and our feet on the other. In the middle of the night, I wake up facing the opposite direction of everyone else, still in my sleeping bag. I turn to what I thought was my right and ask friend 1 why I'm like this, but they just replied, "It's not friend 1, I'm friend 2, half asleep." So my sense of direction that I thought I had was gone and wasn't like the night before. Finally, I turned my sleeping bag back around so that we were all facing the same way again, and in the morning, I was backwards once more. I told my friends what had happened, but none of them said they noticed anything. Still can't figure it out to this day. I was walking along the driveway when it was windy. I didn't like that the wind was blowing my hair in my face, so I spread my arms out and imagined it stopping. All of a sudden, I couldn't feel any wind on me anymore. My hair had stopped blowing in my face, and the really weird part about it is that the wind was just as wild as ever around me. The trees were getting their branches and leaves blowing around everywhere just the same. Then, when I stopped concentrating on the wind stopping, I could feel it again and got hair in my face again. This happened twice so far. A witch. Just yesterday, actually. I had drawn 2 pictures like a month or so ago and recently needed some information I had typed down when I showed them to some friends online. The thing was, I couldn't find the images anywhere. I checked my chat histories on things like Discord and in my text. Hell, I even tried to find the Reddit, Twitter, and Tumblr posts I had made, but there was nothing. I had printed them out at some point and they were pinned to a corkboard. Guess what? Effing gone. My family didn't remember putting the images up for me. Even the art program I used to draw them, IBS Paint X, didn't have the images. I'd have no reason to delete them from anywhere, and yet, not a single site or application I had posted these pictures and had them. I could understand one thing, but everywhere, literally everywhere? People I asked said they remembered vaguely seeing the images, but couldn't find them as well. Seriously, out of what had to be at least 50 plus people across different platforms, not a single person could find proof these images existed. The only way I knew they exist is because I have them in my gallery. I still don't know why or where these posts and messages went, or why specifically these 2 images decided to be effing purged from literally everywhere, but I felt like I was going crazy. At a friend's house when I was 10, and we went upstairs and down the hall into his room, but when we went through the door into his room, we actually went through a door into his kitchen. We stood for a second looking at each other wondering WTF. His mother just asked if we forgot something, because to her it looked like we just ran down the stairs, turned around and ran back. We went properly to his room, but just asked each other if that really happened. When I was younger, I had a stuffed lion. I would wake up at night and find it not there. I would look around for a bit, then go back to bed, then wake up like 10 minutes later, and it would be under my pillow, and everything I moved when I was looking for it was where I moved it to. This happened for like a year. Once I was staying at a cousin's house and I was taking a shower when I accidentally knocked a shampoo bottle off the toilet. I heard it hit the ground and it even knocked over the trash, and when I went to retrieve it, I could find it simply disappeared. I spent 30 minutes trying to find it, but it was gone. It disappeared as if it never existed. Seriously, was traveling down the road past a high school and the band was out playing. I watched them and heard them as well as others in the vehicle. As we round the corner, it gets quiet, and we look over and no band. All of them gone. We all looked at each other and had to question if we all had just seen a group hallucination. Almost 50 kids and adults disappeared in a matter of a second. Glitch? I was crossing a road in my shitty older car when a big truck came barreling down on me from cross street. I knew I couldn't make it across and that the truck didn't have the space to slow down or even swerve. I closed my eyes and gave up to it. When I opened them, I was on the other side of the intersection and the truck was going at the same speed a block past me. I've driven hundreds of thousands of miles since then, with plenty of entirely explainable near misses, but I still know that there was some glitch that let me make it across that day. When I was a kid, my mom asked me to go into the basement to grab a board game that I could play with my friend. I didn't remember going down to the basement. It's like she asked me to get it, and the next thing I know I'm upstairs with the board game. Kind of like a version of when you're driving and you're zoned out and don't really remember much of the drive. Yes, just a week or 2 ago, my mom and I went shopping at a small boutique. I mean, it was barely bigger than a 15 by 20 and open door at one end and changing room on the other end in the back. It was midweek and just before lunch, so we were the only shoppers in the store. So we're shopping, and I watched my mom go into the changing room with an armful of clothes, including a pretty green dress that would have been perfect to wear at Christmas. Totally not my mom's style at all, but it would look pretty on her, so I was interested in seeing how it looked on her. Now, my mom dresses like a lot of women in their late 60s, early 70s. You know, shoulder-length bob hairstyle, khakis, a sweater, and puffy vest, but I can recognize her anywhere, from her mannerisms, her walk, etc. I kept browsing for a few seconds, less than half a minute, and turned around to go down the next aisle and find my mom standing there looking at 2 sweaters. I said, "How did they try all these clothes on so fast? Did that green dress look good on you?" And she said, "What? I didn't try anything on." Booked it over to the changing room I saw her go into, pulled back the curtain, and saw that dress hanging there. There was no one else in the store, let alone someone that looked just like my mom. I called her over and pointed at the dress and said, "I just saw you go into the dressing room holding that dress to try on." And she said it wasn't her. She'd never wear that. I have no idea what the hell that was. Also, tried to get her to buy the dress. I felt like it was a sign that she should buy it. I used to live on the opposite side of town when people started asking me if I had been to X place or mentioning, "Oh, I saw you at X yesterday, etc., etc." I would always say, "No, can't be me. I haven't been around there in ages." They would insist that the person had the same hair color, hairstyle, same style and clothes, same height, even the same bag I carried to work. That went on for about a month and stopped. Months later, I moved to that part of town and got a job there also. So there I am, living there and frequenting all those places people would tell me they saw me before. It's kind of creepy, but I think I heard a voice when I was alone. This happened more than once, I think. I'm sure it was just my brain messing around though, lol. Did anyone else experience the same? I posted this in r/glitch in the matrix, but I think it belongs here. My car will help you parallel park into a spot. I know I've used it by going past the spot where I want to park, putting it in reverse, and selecting the park in option. I demonstrated it for people. I had hand surgery and could not move the wheel easily for parallel parking, so I used the feature. Took it in for routine service and got a software update. Now, when you want to park, you have to swipe a screen to have it start searching before you pass the space. Once it identifies a space, you then do as above. But I know with certainty I've never once swiped the screen to activate it, and I certainly did not with my hand surgery. The dealer, manual, and all online bulletin boards indicate that I am wrong, and that it has always only worked the way it is now working. But I know I did it differently in the past. So this happened maybe 4 months ago. I was in bed under the covers scrolling through social media. Everything was going okay when all of a sudden I heard a clear, snoring sound. It didn't creep me out at first as I thought it was my dog, which snored quite a lot, until I got up and turned on the lights as I realized my dog is in the kitchen, sleeping, and only I was in the room. This is probably my strangest moment. I used to sleep on the upper deck of a bunk bed. It stands nearly 2 meters tall, and the only way to access the upper deck is through a narrow ladder. One day, I had a lucid nightmare where I fell out of my bed. I woke up instantly and found myself lying on the floor beside the bed, still wrapped in the blankets with a pillow beneath my head. I don't know how I got there. If I really did fall 2 meters, there'd bound to be bruises. I live in Florida, and one day my mom was taking me to get my eyes checked, and we do that, and we are driving back home, and we see this black pole surrounded by a glowing white diamond, and it's floating in the sky, and out of curiosity, me and my mom try to chase it, but like 19 minutes later, specific, it just disappeared from the sky with no trace, no trail, no nothing. But there were like a bunch of blue dots following a big blue dot, but they all just disappeared, no trace. Typed on mobile, so if there's any mistakes, sorry, you're forgiven. When I was in my early teens, I went through a period of months of waking up convinced there was somebody in our garden. I'd wake my mom terrified, but there was never anyone there. She got fed up and told me off, so I'd wake up and still hear it, but tell myself I was imagining things and to go back to sleep. Then, one weekend I was at my dad's and heard the exact same sort of noises. Of course, I ignored it and went back to sleep. Woke up the next day to find clothes, knickers had been stolen from the washing line, and they were crossed that I hadn't said anything. Never heard it again after that. This happened when I was younger, so basically there was one entire month that I had to repeat to make it easier to understand. Imagine the entirety of April. I finished the month, and right as it was ending and I fell asleep, I woke up and it was the beginning of April, and all the events happened in the exact order. I would say I was at least, say, 14. I don't know, it really scared me, basically. That was very hard to read. Maybe not exactly glitchy, but just absolutely strange. I saw this a little over a week ago and have been thinking about it off and on. I was walking to the 7-Eleven by my house the other day, and there was a woman standing out front on a cell phone. She didn't look homeless or crazy or anything, and was actually wearing semi-fancy attire, business-esque blouse, jewelry, makeup, etc. And she had a speakerphone on, but she wasn't speaking English. In fact, she was not speaking any language that even exists. She was just making weird noises into the phone, like blah da blah blah blah, argle argle argle. And the person on the other line was responding in kind. And by their intonation and delivery of said nonsense, it seemed like they had a genuine rapport, like it was a language known by only the two of them. I really will always wonder about that.